So you went out, so did you go out? Good afternoon and welcome back to ICCA Live, World-Class Culinary Online. Today, we have the start of a new series of webinars on contemporary desserts, and the session is on Verine's Caramel Gold. I will now hand over to our host, Shanaz Raja, Director of Courses at the ICCA Dubai. Over to you, Shanaz.
Thank you, Karun. Hi, everyone. Welcome to a new series on contemporary desserts, brought to you by Chef Sabeen Farid from our Faculty of Cookery and Patisserie here at the International Center for Culinary Arts in Dubai. Chef Sabeen is an alumnus of ICCA and has been part of our team since 2014. She has a very special skill and talent, almost a calling, you could say, that she has perfected over the past 7 years. And that is in the creation and setup of the most exquisite high tea displays ever. So much so that you will find people photographing the food rather than actually eating it. She is an expert when it comes to making sweet and savory petit fours and individually portioned desserts. And it is from this repertoire that she is going to talk about and demonstrate the concept of creating exciting verrines. Now she'll tell you what that is. And now I really need to let Sabeen start her show. Over to you, Chef Sabeen.
Thank you, Ms. Shanaz, for the lovely introduction and the prelude on modern desserts. So we move on to saying what is a verrine. The term is derived from a French word verre, which means glass. And the person who actually coined this term is a French patissier, Philippe Conticini, in 1994, where he said that sometimes a plate is simply not enough. And a glass would be used, when a glass is used, the components would mingle well with each other when they are eating and cause that synergy. So the dessert that we are presenting today is called Caramel Gold, and it is so because it is inspired from the prime ingredient that we're using in the recipe, which is our caramel flavored chocolate. So all the components that we'll be presenting today, we'll be presenting 5 different components, 3 which will make the body of the dessert and 2 which will be used as garnishes. We'll provide complementing flavors and textures to the entire dessert. So let's start without wasting much time. We'll start off with our first component, which is a passion fruit jelly. We will have our gelatine pre-soaked. We have 1 sheet of gelatine which is pre-soaked in random amount of water. Now, if you don't have access to a sheet of gelatin, you can use gelatin powder instead. 4 grams of gelatin powder can be used for this recipe, and it can be dissolved in around 3 to 5 times weight of water. Here in the saucepan, I have my passion fruit puree along with some caster sugar and some water, which I'm just going to bring to a heat, not a roaring boil. Once it heats up, I'm going to add in the soaked gelatin to dissolve into this mixture. Any mixture can be set in such manner. Any jelly can be made in such a manner. We need around 125, and for setting 125 ml of liquid, we will use about 1 sheet of gelatin or about 4 grams of powdered gelatin. I have over here assisting me today a student, Chef Shri, who you might have met in the previous webinars. She started off at ICCA when she was 16, and she finished her cookery module, and then she ventured out further in other avenues, and now she's back with us and she's finished her patisserie module. Our passion fruit puree is nearly coming to a heat. It's a little sweet today. Get our glass stream. And the depositor also. All right, it has now come to almost heated up. Okay, I don't want to let it come to a roaring boil. Gelatin needs about a minute or so more. So my stuff just switched off on me. I just need a little bit of a heat more in this mixture. Usually modern desserts have a characteristic of their own. The contrasting textures and elements that are provided in the dessert is what gives it that unique contrasting characteristic to this dessert, to modern desserts. All right, the gelatin has bloomed, where it has become soft and pliable. I'm going to squeeze off the excess water, and I'm going to add it to my mixture. And the mixture is heated through, so the gelatin will dissolve immediately. Commercially, using the gelatin sheet is much more easier, as it has no odor as well, and the application is faster. I'm going to use a depositor, which we use commercially. It fastens the operation. And I'm just going to place my passion fruit jelly mixture into the depositor. And I will just deposit it like so in the glass. This is the glass that we're going to assemble our final dessert in. I'm adding about a tablespoon of the mixture. And this will now go in the chiller to set. This much amount of portion would require about 12 to 15 minutes to set. Once the mixture is set, it will look like so. The jelly. So this is our first component, which is the passion fruit jelly. We'll go ahead to our second component. Our second component is the caramel almond crunch layer. This is what is going to be the surprise element in the dessert. It's going to be enclosed between layers of mousse, and it's going to provide the textural difference in the dessert. Now, what I have here is some caramel flavored chocolate, the prime ingredient in our recipe, and some praline paste, almond praline paste. What is almond praline paste? It's nothing but 50% caramelized sugar and 50% almonds. And this is a commercial product. It cannot be made domestically. However, it can be purchased online. If you just search for it, you can purchase it online. So what I'm doing right now is I'm melting the caramel chocolate and the praline paste over a bain-marie. Bain-marie is nothing but a pot of simmering water. As I can't apply direct heat to chocolate or it would scorch. So this is the prime ingredient of our dessert, the caramel flavored chocolate. It's the flavor trending in the patisserie industry right now. As people are bored of the same milk chocolate and not many people prefer white chocolate, hence caramelly notes are added to the chocolate itself. In this particular chocolate, salted caramel has been actually added to is mixed with the couverture chocolate. So just a tad bit ahead of melting our couverture completely. Just a few lumps in there. It's a little tricky to work with chocolate over the induction. Sometimes it gets too fast. You have to control the heat. Alright, now I can't let you feel the aroma, but it's a nice almond and caramel mixed together like a croquant kind of aroma that has been released. I will remove this off the bain-marie and my chocolate is melted. Once this mixture is ready, I will add in the dry ingredients, which is puffed rice, or also known as Rice Krispies, some caramelized almonds, and some cinnamon powder. I'm going to mix that together and I'll achieve the crunch layer. Now, we're using caramelized almond tree. We would need our sheet that we have spread.
Yeah, it's in
the freezer. Yeah, freezer outside. So I'll show it in this camera. Our mixture. This is our crunch layer. We are using caramelized almonds. I was saying about caramelized almonds that we're using in the recipe. We can use roasted almonds. We have made the caramelized almond in-house. You can even purchase it online, or you can use just roasted almonds which are chopped. Any dry ingredients basically can be used to provide that crunch. Now after we make this mixture, we will then sheet it on a tray lined with a silpat or baking paper. Would be a little difficult to work with. So we would spread this mixture with a flat palette knife and we will freeze it. We will freeze it till it sets. And once that happens, we will use the cutters of choice depending upon the glass that we are using in the dessert. And we will cut this. This is a little frozen mass, so it's going to be difficult to cut. We can let it rest for about 2 to 3 minutes at room temperature, and then you will be easily able to cut it. Now, since this chocolate is not tempered, it will melt if we let it out for too long. So we have to be quick enough to work with it. So this is what our discs will look like once it is cut. This is what it will look like. Yeah. All right. So I'll set this aside for now because we'll just use it in a while. Any questions, Ms. Shanaz, on the two components that we have covered?
Not yet, Sabeen.
See you.
In case.
But I can't hear you.
Can you hear me now? Not now. You can't hear me now.
I can't hear you, Ms. Shanaz. Voice. No questions. No questions.
No questions.
Okay. So I think we're explaining well. I think maybe. All right, let's resume with our third component. This is the main component of the dessert, which is the gold chocolate mousse or the caramel chocolate mousse. All right, Sri will just put this here. All right. Gold chocolate mousse, we are using caramel flavored chocolate again. And what we are going to do is first soak our gelatine sheets in water. Pre-soak the gelatine sheet. The same rule would apply if you are using powdered gelatine. So one sheet is about 3 to 4 grams. So you can calculate the weight as per the recipe card, which will be enclosed during the webinar. What I have on the stuff right here is a sugar syrup, sugar, sea salt, some glucose, and water is what I'm going to add right now. And I'm just going to dissolve the sugar. I'm just going to heat this mixture till it dissolves. I don't want to boil this syrup. I don't want any of the ingredients to evaporate as they're required in the recipe. So I'm just going to heat till the sugar dissolves. And what this is going to do, it's going to serve as the syrup. I'm going to pour over the chocolate, our caramel flavored chocolate. And hence this will enable me to form the ganache. Ganache is nothing but an emulsion of liquid and chocolate. Need not necessarily be cream. It is sugar syrup in this case. So my sugar is dissolved, and what I have over here, if it's visible, there are some specks of sea salt. It's not any crystallized sugar or anything. Once done, I will just add in the gelatine. I'm going to add in the gelatine to dissolve. The syrup is hot enough, the gelatine will dissolve immediately. Now why I lifted the saucepan is I don't want to dissolve the gelatine over the heat, otherwise it will lose its setting ability. And now I'm going to pour this syrup over the chocolate. I'm just going to let it sit for a few seconds. And I'm going to, this is what our mixture will look like. This is sugar syrup along with the caramel chocolate. And I'm now going to whisk it in to form the ganache. You might feel at times that the chocolate is sturdy and it is not melted completely. So I would use the help of a bain-marie to melt my chocolate completely so that it's nice and fluid. I'll place this over the bain-marie. So the recipe also has glucose. Glucose is nothing but sugar derived from wheat, but it has no gluten, and it is 40% less sweeter than sucrose. All right, I've placed my ganache over the bain-marie just to ensure that all my chocolate is melted. Prior to starting the mousse, I had semi-whipped some cream, which I'm going to fold in this ganache. So just semi-whip your cream and keep it ready in the chiller. Now I will just remove it in a bit, just let the ganache be a little fluid. It's a little sturdy from the glucose and the gelatine. The chocolate is all melted through. We can see that with the help of the bain-marie, the chocolate is nice and fluid. I'll remove it now off the heat. Just let it sit for a few seconds and I'll fold in the semi-whipped cream. Can we see, boys? I'll let it sit for a few seconds till I fold in my semi-whipped cream. Semi-whipped cream is where I've just aerated the cream till it has some body. I don't need a very stiff peak to the cream. So once I lift it, it has body or aeration, but it will fall off the spatula. It will not hold. So I'll just fold in the semi-whipped cream. Trying to not knock out much air. So I forgot to mention when I was making the ganache that if you all could see the caramel notes in the chocolate, it is available retail as well. There are many caramel chocolate bars that you would be able to source retail and even online. It is a current trend. Cafes, etc., are also selling drinks and pastries with this chocolate. Once the cream is folded in through, I will pour it into a piping bag and pour the first layer of mousse onto our glass. So, yes. We don't need much. So working with our glass that we have set jelly in, I will pour it as a second layer on top of the glass to show the contrasting color and the contrasting element. I'll give a first layer of mousse and then I will allow this layer to set for another 15 to 20 minutes in the chiller. Commercially, of course, we have something known as glass chillers which would set the product in about 5 minutes or so. So once set, it will look like so. Now, we did the crunch layer. I think we'll have a poll, I think, but just before that, I would just like to display the crunch layer that we did will be then used to go inside. And then we'll cover this with another layer of the mousse to enclose this element of surprise inside. And then I let it set again in the chiller for 20 minutes in a regular chiller. Right? That's good. So, Ms. Shanaz, do we have a poll at this point? Ms. Shanaz, I can't see you. I can't hear you. Ms. Shanaz, are you there?
I'm there, Sabeen. I'm sorry, the mouse wouldn't move. Okay, so I put out the poll, and
Yes.
Generally we use gelatine to set a mousse, but why is it optional when you make a chocolate mousse? Is the question.
Yes.
Okay,
So, do we have the answers coming in?
we do have a few pastry chefs on the group. I
We
think.
did. Okay.
Yes, so because 100% say because the high fat content in the chocolate keeps the mousse firm. So that's right.
Right.
But if you notice, Sabeen did use a bit of glucose and water and other things in her mousse. So that's why she had to use a little bit of gelatin. And she'll tell you why you need to use gelatin for other purposes too. Continue, Sabeen.
Yes, thank you, Ms. Shanaz. So, do I need this now, Shri? I don't need this now.
It's just after setting the settings.
Yeah, we'll show that. All right. So we'll continue now. We have completed the body of our mousse, and we will now proceed to completing the two components which are necessary for the garnish. Okay, did I show that one? Or I didn't show that. I can show that again. So this is the set mousse that I've added on top of the crunch element, and it is set like so. And now we're going to work further on this later. All right. So as I said, we are going to work on the two components of the garnish, and one of them is the spice shortbread pastry. This is nothing but sugar and butter, which is mixed together till no lumps of butter remain, and then we've added eggs to it to mix. And we will then add our dry ingredients, which is nothing but flour and cinnamon and some gingerbread spice and some baking powder. So we add that to it, and we'll just mix till the dough comes together. At this point, we will not overwork the pastry, as it will cause it to become tough. So it will be a crunchy pastry with the baking powder making it a little light. You don't need to overwork the pastry, just till the dough comes together. I will stop once the dough comes together, otherwise I don't want the gluten to develop. Once the dough comes together, which is almost so, I will remove it on a cling film, and I will shape it into a slab like so, and I will chill it for about an hour, and I will make sure that the slab is even, so that I'm not left with some firm pastry and some soft pastry. Once this is chilled, we can remove it, and if it's too hard to roll, we're going to sheet this pastry. Then we can leave it out at room temperature for 5 minutes, and then sheet it like so to 2 mm thickness, and then we can cut the discs as we did our crunch, and in sizes, various sizes, or maybe we can even cut shards or some triangles or long triangles as per how we desire to give our dessert some height in the garnish. And we can cut and bake this at 160 for around 6 to 8 minutes. So that completes our shortbread spice element. I will show you how we have cut our shortbread. So we will use it as discs, and we have cut it into some big and small discs, which we'll use. And we have used a textured mat to bake the shortbread to give it the textural element. All right. Our last component is our lemon caviar or the lemon pearls, which is also going to give a gastronomical element to our dessert, a modernist element. Before that, I would just like to ask Ms. Shanaz if we have any questions of what we've covered so far.
We've had a few.
Are we good?
Yes, we've had a few questions. Sabeen, I've managed to answer them on the chat. Like, what did you use brown sugar? From where did the brown color come? And various other things about the cream and the mold and things. But I've done that for you. Yeah,
all
so
right.
you can.
Thank you. All right. So what we have here is our lemon puree. We're making lemon caviar, and we have our lemon puree along with some water. And we're going to just bring it up to a heat and not a roaring boil. In terms of the dry ingredients, I have some sugar and agar-agar powder. Is it visible, boys? All right. And this is what's going to set the caviar. Now, agar-agar is actually a seaweed-based setting agent, and it sets at 60 degrees. It sets very quickly, and it should not be heated more than 90 degrees Celsius. Sugar can also be added in along with the puree, but why we preserved it here is so that when we add the agar-agar, the lumps will not form. The mixture will mix easily. So this is nothing but just lemon puree and water, which we are bringing to the rather just heating it. Mixture is nearly coming to a boil. I will add, at this point, I will add in the sugar and the agar-agar. And I will whisk it in to dissolve. As you might see, our mixture has dissolved. I'll just mix it a little further. Now, agar-agar has to be, the caviar mixture has to be deposited into cold oil in the form of droplets so that it will form a sphere and we will achieve those pearls or caviar. If you're not acquainted with the procedure, you can use a thermometer to check your temperatures. Alright, we're good to go here. Now what I'm going to do is that what you're going to use to deposit the pearls would be either a squeeze bottle or we even get caviar sets which you can even purchase online, which usually also includes a syringe, or we can even use pipettes to drop the droplets into the cold oil. So here we are using the syringe to take the mixture in. I'll just let it cool for a few seconds. The mixture is very hot. And I'll deposit it into this cold oil here, and then we'll strain this mixture. I've just taken up some mixture in the syringe, and drop by drop I'll just slowly release the drops into the cold oil. And they will spherify in the cold oil. I don't know if it's visible from here. Anyways, we'll strain and we'll show. I'll take some more of the caviar mixture and release. So you can use a squeeze bottle at home, or even these syringes. They are easily available at the pharmaceutical outlets for nearly a dirham basically. Alright, so we'll not waste much time and we'll just let this stay for about a few seconds, and then we'll strain this mixture. So since I did a very small quantity, there's a lot of oil and less of the pearls. I'll just show, and since it's lemon pearls, you won't be able to see the striking color. That's just show. Is it visible? Voice? Yeah. So you can see these beautiful pearls. Alright, so these are what we're going to use as a garnish. How to store them? They can be made a day ahead if you are planning to use it for your dessert, and they can be stored in a simple sugar syrup, which would be just about equal amounts of water and sugar just dissolved together. So that's that. Alright. Now, time for assembly of our dessert, but before that, we will show you some sample verines. How verines can be presented in different ways. So I think my assistant just ran out to grab it. So any questions, Ms. Shanaz?
Yes, Sabeen, you
Okay,
can
good.
tell them. Yeah, no, you can tell them how they can wash off the oil from the lemon pearls if they don't want the oil on it.
Yes, so what we would do is that we can, once you're done straining the caviar, you can pour some cold water on the caviar just so that it soaks the caviar, the quantity that you have, just random amount of water, just enough to soak the pearls that you've made, and you can rinse it again. Now the caviar can also be stored for about a day ahead in cold water, so that further washes off the oil if you don't want to soak it in the sugar syrup. So, but that would last only about 24 hours, and then your pearls would start collapsing. Depending upon what flavor you're using. So since we have used lemon would take a little more agar because citrus caviars take a longer while to set. So is that answer our question, Ms. Shanaz?
Yes, very good, Sabeen. That's good. Thank you.
All right. So what we have here, we have made some sample verines, which is not related to our dessert, but we're just showing some different ways in how we can assemble our verines. So how we can achieve textural differences and contrasts and different presentation of our verines. Is it clearly visible from here? So different components can be set along with different garnishes, where each component would be allowed to set. This is set at an angle if it's visible. Yeah. The base component is set at an angle, and the other components, once it's set, other components are added to it. And then some custard component is added, and we've left enough headspace for the garnishing, which is some fruit, some honeycomb, some chocolate garnishes to give it height and some textural difference. This is yet again a layered verine with some custards and mousse and jelly and some garnishing element, some panned nuts, rolled pan nuts along with it. Coming to this is you can see the jelly set on the glass directly. It's set in a frame, a square frame, and then it's cut out into discs and set on the glass. And then once it's set on the glass, it would stick because of the gelatin, it would stick to the glass, it would adhere to the glass. And then another component, once it's set, another component is set on it, and it is yet again garnished with various ingredients like meringues and microwave sponge and dried fruits, etc. One more. So basically, contemporary desserts are known by their modern presentations and what's also trending in the market. So this is yet again another verine with some mousses which have been finished with the cocoa butter spray and some textural elements with some crispy pearls. and some blueberry flavors going on in there. I already showed this one. This is also kind of a panna cotta with a raspberry puree, and it's set in a manner to give it this textural difference, colorful difference as well, and finished with a microwave sponge. So these are just some ideas which we are sharing. Coming to our dessert now. We'll finish our presentation. So I'll stop talking now so I can just concentrate a little. All right. So we have finished our dessert with, we have seen the passion fruit layer, we've seen the mousse layer, in between is our crunch. We have finished with another layer of a caramel glaze. In our previous webinars, you have also seen Chef Maya showing the chocolate glaze, which can be used here as well. Or we can use it plain as well and just finish our garnishing on without the glaze as well, the glaze element. But it just gives another layer of difference and contrast in case if you are interested. So let's finish our garnishing. We will start by piping some chocolate chantilly. You can either use she just whip it up a little more stiff. Yeah. Okay. So what we're using here is our caramel gold chantilly. You can use either a plain chantilly, which is just whipping cream with sugar. Yeah. I'll talk a little louder. The whipping cream with just 10% sugar and you're good to go. However, we are using the caramel chocolate chantilly. You keep going. And the recipe is enclosed in our card, which I think must be shared with you by now. So it's a simple affair. What we have done is that we have whipped it prior to starting our webinar, but sometimes it loosens a bit, so I need it a little stiff. And so I'll use the caramel glazed glasses for our garnishing. Just using a regular star nozzle tip to pipe our garnish. Just I'm going to pipe halfway through. And finish off with other things that we have, our other ingredients that we've kept for the garnish. Alright. I'm just going to deposit the garnishing elements. So I'm going to use some caramelized almonds that we had used in the crunch layer. We had made them in-house. I'll just use that. As I said, it can be outsourced easily. Okay. It is not necessary for you to use all the components that we're using as the garnishes. We can also stick by just the two garnishes that we've made for our dessert, which is our spiced shortbread. Okay, we can play with the big and the small discs. I'll use the small one for now. Yeah. And I will even use the almond crunch that we made. I will use that as well. Cut it into smaller discs of the like. Alright. I'm also using some chewy caramel that we have made in-house. If you would like to use something like this, then you can easily buy it outside, like a caramel toffee, to just enhance the texture of the overall appeal on the palate. It's a little technical application which we did not demonstrate. Just hair bits, since we have them on hand, and I'll also add some canned almond. This is ready-made, bought from the supplier, just to give it that oomph factor. And we'll finish with our lemon caviar. Strain this for me.
Yeah.
So the caviar can sit inside as well as on the spoons that you're serving, just for that appeal. Just an application like so. Now I'll just place some on the serving spoon as well, just to finish off our presentation. Are we getting a good view? Yeah. All right. So that finishes off our presentation. I don't know. Wait, no, it doesn't finish off our presentation. We are just going to use some edible gold dust, since our dessert is called caramel gold. So this edible dust will give a gold luster to our presentation. So is it clear? Can we see? This is the front side, so I'll just. All right. So that finishes our presentation today, and hope that you enjoyed, and you can get back to us with any questions that you might have. And looking forward to joining you for the next session. Stay tuned with us. Over to you, Ms. Shanaz.
Thank you, Sabeen. Sabeen is one of those special persons in whose food you can actually taste the love. And as always, our camera crew are waiting eagerly for this webinar to get over so they can dig into those desserts. Thank you, everyone, for taking the time to be with us, and stay tuned to pick up new ideas and new mouth-watering techniques, as Amna says. And see you on Wednesday with Chef Sergio, who's going to masquerade as Vasco da Gama. I won't say any more about that. So until Wednesday, over to you, Karamel.
Thank you, Shanaz and Chef Sabeen, for this dessert. And I have just one word for this: exquisite. And no wonder it has so many components. I was just admiring each and every step of hers right through the webinar. And for those who have missed out on the complete live action, an email will soon follow with the replay video of this webinar, together with the handouts as well. And as Ms. Shanaz mentioned, we will have our next webinar on Wednesday. Until then, goodbye from all of us here.